All right, I think we're ready to go. The University of Oregon has arrived, the Oregon Ducks, Coach Dana Altman, and our lineup of student athletes for this 20-minute session. I'll read them down. Casey Benson, Tyler Dorsey, Chris Boucher, Dylan Enis, and Roman Sorkin. Coach, we'll turn to you. You've had a little bit of time to, after your game, to think about coming into this. Your thoughts coming into tomorrow's championship game?
Well, we are recovering from a tough ball game last night that went down to the wire. Just finished our practice. Had an opportunity to watch Kansas and Purdue last night, and a very explosive offensive effort by Kansas, especially in the second half. Very talented team. Bill does a great job. The atmosphere was a little bit pro-KU last night. I imagine it'll probably be the same tomorrow. So we know it'll be a tough ball game, but our guys are excited about the opportunity.
Thank you, Coach. Let's go to questions for Coach and any of the 5 student athletes on stage. First will be in your right, in the back.
Dana Warren Williamson, Oregon Duck Football News. Bill just said that you guys know each other. You've coached against each other. How well do you know Bill? And he also said that he thinks that the Ducks mirror Kansas in the way that they play. Do you agree with that as well?
Well, first of all, I've known Bill for a very long time, probably 86. So ages both of us. He's a little bit younger than I am, but we do go back a long ways. And our teams have played Oral Roberts, Tulsa, when I was at Creighton. Played them at Illinois. So we've had an opportunity to play a few times. As far as our teams resembling each other, I think we both are playing small. Without Chris, we haven't had quite the opportunity to play big a number of times with Jordan and Chris in the lineup together. So that has kind of cut our ability to play different ways. But the fact that both of us at the forward spots have basically guys with guard skills, Josh for them and Dylan Brooks for us. So yeah, I think there are some similarities. We both get up and down. We both have veteran teams. With Mason being a starter for a long time, and we've got guys in Jordan Bell, Casey, and Dylan who have been with us for 3 years, and Dylan Enis has been around for a long time. So we both have experienced teams.
Okay, in the back on the left.
Matt Galloway, the Topeka Capital Journal. This is for Coach and one of the upperclassmen. Coach Self said that the Elite Eight has the highest pressure. It's the toughest round to lose in the tournament. Do you agree with that, and why or why not?
Well, I've only been here a couple times, so I'm not really sure. All the games, we feel the pressure to move on, to advance. This one a little bit more because that Final Four is a goal of everybody. You get into college basketball as a player, I think, and as a coach, you always dream of going, and so there maybe is a little bit more, moving on from the Final 8 to the Final 4.
Did you say one of the underclassmen? Upperclassmen. Okay. Well, then how about Chris? I'll let you respond.
Me?
Yes. You're the senior, right?
Can you repeat the question? Because I was not paying attention.
Yeah, just because you guys are so close to the Final Four,
Yeah.
is the Elite Eight the toughest round to lose in and with the most pressure?
Well, I think so. Since last year, we were in the Elite Eight and we lost. So I feel like, it's the last stage before going to Final Four. And, we all want to go there. Coach never went. And, we only have one coach in the coaching staff that went. So we definitely, feel like it's the last stage before the Final Four.
Okay, in the back row, on the left side this time.
Michael Coleman, KCTV5 here in Kansas City. Coach, you've had success against Kansas when you were at Kansas State. You upset them even when they were ranked #1. Talk about and reflect for us your time at Kansas State in Manhattan, please.
Well, 7 years, 3 with Coach Kruger, and 4 as the head coach. And the games against Kansas were always tough. Coach Brown was there, and then Roy took over for him. And so, it was always a tough atmosphere to go over there, and played him in Old Kemper, a number of times in the tournament. So, Kansas tradition has been there for a long, long time, and they've been good for a long time under a number of coaches. So, always a tough game, and we're preparing for one tomorrow. We know the atmosphere is going to favor them, and it's a big challenge for us. But our guys have gone on the road and won ball games before, and they've won in tough venues. Broke Arizona's 49-game winning streak last year on the road, and we'll compete, and we'll be ready to go.
Here in the middle on the left.
Hi, guys. Janine Edwards, ESPN. I'll ask this of Tyler and any another one of you that might want to answer it. Even though you guys have won a school record 32 games this year, and I don't know if it's because you play on the West Coast or what, but it just seems like the respect factor has not quite been there for you guys like it should be. And against Michigan, they were the darlings with their big story, and now you're facing #1 Kansas, and they've got the home crowd here. So I don't know if you're getting the respect you all deserve. How does that feel?
I don't think we worry about that, and you got to tie up your shoelaces and go play, and we're not worried about any respect. We just want to go out there and play game by game and team by team, and this is the time of the year. If you're gonna get respect, you go get it, and we've been doing that lately. But we know we're gonna have a tough game ahead of us, and they're gonna have the home court advantage, and we just got to get ready, and we play game by game. We're not worried about any respect.
Anyone else?
I think, it's coming into these games, you got to approach them like they were conference games. If you start switching things up just because, we're in March Madness, then, we're going to get out of rhythm. We've been playing hard since the start of the season, and, we don't worry about, if people, aren't giving us enough respect. If anything, it just puts a chip on our shoulder. But, we're not going to go out there and, prove anybody wrong. We just want to prove ourselves right that, we want to be, the last team standing.
Okay, we'll move to the extreme left.
Eric Olson of the Associated Press. This is for both Dylan and for Coach Altman. Dylan, from your standpoint, given this is your third school, your 6th year, on a personal level, how meaningful is what about to happen tomorrow to you? And then Dana, just from the fact that here's a guy who's had a real long road, I guess I'm sure that you have a lot of feeling for all your guys, but in Dylan's case, is there something a little extra for this game for you, for him, just because of kind of the journey he's been on?
This game, it's special to me because, I know this is possibly my last game. Hopefully not, God willing. But, I've had, a great experience, throughout my college career. And to end it, hopefully on a high note with, my brothers and, such a great coaching staff, it's big. And I've enjoyed my entire career. And whatever happens tomorrow, I could, go to sleep knowing that, I enjoyed, every step of it.
No, it's been great having Dylan with us. He had a tough break last year when he broke his foot, and we were fortunate to overcome that because Casey stepped up and played so well, and Tyler, as a freshman, came in, and we had 2 young guards that really stepped up and played well, and Elgin Cook came through for us, so we were able to have a nice year last year, even when Dylan went down. But to win the appeal and to have him come back for his 6th year, and finish up his master's degree and just have an outstanding year for us, it's good. And he's the old man on the team, and that experience, with Villanova and other quality programs has helped our ball club.
Okay, left side, inside aisle.
Danny Klinkskill, Sports Radio 810, WHB in Kansas City. Yesterday's game, you mentioned it after in the post game, came down to the last shot, and it could have gone in, and you could have lost it. And watching the game, it seemed like it would have been really stolen from you. It seemed like maybe you could have you missed some close-in shots. Does that show the vagaries of the tournament, and how frustrating would that game have been? Did you feel like you had control of that game?
Well, we never had control of it because Michigan is such a good three-point shooting team. The missed free throws were, definitely a problem for us, not only toward the end, but during the game. When you go 9 for 16 and you miss 2 or 3 front ends, 1-on-1s, and all of a sudden, at this time of year, that usually doesn't lead to success. And so we were fortunate, and the game, could have went either way. But as soon as we got done, I'm watching Gonzaga and West Virginia, and West Virginia's up 1, gets an offensive rebound. Call could have went either way on a putback, and it didn't go their way, and Gonzaga come down and hit a 3. So all those games, can be fragile. Arizona, who out of our league we really wanted to win, game turned on them in the last couple minutes. So, the game's never over. I preach that to our guys all the time. Up 10, down 10. We got to keep playing. And but the turning point of the game, we were up 5, and they hit back-to-back threes, and all of a sudden we're down 1, and the complexion of the game really changed there.
Okay, we'll go to our left.
Neil Best from Newsday. This is for Coach and Chris and Dylan. For those of us who don't follow the program on a regular basis, can you explain the Canadian pipeline, and how is it by design? Is it coincidence that you've had so many good Canadian players in recent years?
We really have. Up north has been great to us. We've had 7 young men from Canada play for us. DeVoe Joseph and Olu Ashalu were the first 2 my second year, 6 years ago. Jason Cleese and Dylan and Chris, and we've been just really lucky. I mean, the guys have come in and added so much to our program, and so yes, it was by design. We felt that we could get some young men, and DeVoe and Olu worked out so good as the first 2, and fortunately, word of mouth has got around, and these guys have had pretty good experiences, I think. And so we do have another young man coming from Toronto next year that we're excited about. But it has been by design, and for our program, been unbelievable. These guys have come in and really enabled us to get some consistency and get some tradition started. This is our 5th tournament in a row, and it's due in large part to the Canadian young men that have come and played for us.
Okay, we'll go to Dylan.
I would say that's Coach Miniger. He did a good. When he recruited me, he told me, there's a good transition coming in, and Dylan Enis and Dylan Brooks were already, signed in, so it was easy to me to just come here and, feel like I was at home with those guys helping me out. So I feel like, Coach Miniger really did a good job in, recruiting me to come here.
Yeah, I think, our connection with Coach Miniger with Canada basketball, was big. And then, Coach Altman, just makes us feel at home, when we're here. And, it's great to have the Canadian connection because, you talk to people back home and they say, Oregon's Canada's team because we have so much Canadians coming here. So, it's great to, represent Oregon, but also, as Canada's team. But it's great.
Okay, our window for the student athletes to be on stage is about to close. We have maybe 3 minutes left. Let's go to the question out here on the left.
David Lawrence, Jayhawk IMG Radios. For any of the players that may have played with Landon Lucas at all, growing up, AAU or whatever, and then if Coach could comment on Landon Lucas, who's from Oregon, and of course his dad played there.
Okay, who wants to take that question?
I don't think any of us played.
I don't think any of us played against him.
Well, no, he was someone that we recruited, and his dad did play. He was awfully good rebounder for the University of Oregon. Obviously Kansas has done a great job. 5 years, redshirting him a year, and it also shows his perseverance. It didn't start out well for him. The red shirt, and he didn't get to play, much the first couple years, but he stayed with it, and it speaks to his character. A lot of young men would have transferred, when it didn't go well for him right away. But man, what he's meant to the club this year and last year, as a junior and a senior, after spending 3 years developing with Bill and his system, really shows, sticking with something and perseverance. It's still a quality that's very, very important. We're really happy for him. Just a great guy, great family. His dad's a great guy, and really happy for him. I hope he doesn't play well tomorrow, but he's had a heck of a career.
Stay in the middle here on the left.
Question for Chris. Devastating to be injured the way you are. What's it been like for you to have to watch from the bench, first of all? And then can you give us an example of some of the things that you've been able to see and tell your teammates to help them out?
Well, it's been hard for sure, but, just seeing my team getting far in the tournament and all that, it covers for it a little bit. And, you always want to be on the floor and play, so. It definitely hurts sometimes to, watch them do it so good, and, you can't do anything about it. But I feel like being on the bench, I saw a lot of stuff like, like Coach says, I was just shooting threes basically, and I could see what I could do differently now and, box out and stuff like that. Just the little things that I probably wouldn't see when I was playing that you could see it now when you're not on the bench. So I'm just trying to help my team and see what, tell them what I see from the bench, and they could go from there.
And I just want to piggyback off what you said. As a senior, I know how hard it is, and lucky I got my year back. But him going through this his senior year, I couldn't say he's been a big part of this, and especially with him on the bench, he's so encouraging, and he's taking that role as being the next coach, that positive reinforcement. So everything he's doing, we can't be more grateful for him.
Sure. Get the mic so you can ask that.
I'm just curious if any of you could answer this, or Chris, is there anything that you saw against Michigan that you saw your teammates doing, any way that he helped you, something in particular that you saw that they could do better?
I mean, if we play like we're going to lose every time, then I feel like we could win against anybody. I feel like we're winning all the time. And, like yesterday, Jordan, he had to go to get those 2 offensive rebounds, and then Dylan played defense at the end. I feel like we should do that every possession and not wait till, we're down 1 and then we're like, oh, it might be done. So I feel like we should just play like that since the minute the first the whistle.
Okay, it's 4 o'clock, and it's time to move our student athletes to the breakout areas outside the media workroom entrance. Guys, thanks for coming, and good to have you on stage today. Good luck tomorrow. Okay, we'll keep Coach here for a little while longer. Questions for Coach Altman. Coach in the back on the right side.
Matt Tate from the Journal World in Lawrence. Coach, you mentioned not being able to play bigs when Chris went down, and KU had a sort of similar situation when the Azubuike went down right before Christmas. They seem to get a little bit faster, and they figured it out and are obviously playing like you've seen them play in the tournament. Did you have any sort of similar transition? And I mean, were there any silver linings in that? Obviously wishing you had Chris out there, but a silver lining at all in that?
We've only had 4 ball games, so I mean, we didn't have time to make many adjustments. Fortunately for us, Cavell has stepped in and given us some really good minutes. And so, like I said, it was just 10 days ago that he went down, so it's been a little different.
Stay on that right side toward the back for the next question.
Hey, Coach. I was Mark Tracy from the New York Times. I was wondering, with these quick turnarounds and being on the road, not having necessarily your full scout team, when you tomorrow morning do a run through, how closely will the scout team try to simulate what Kansas does, and will you personally be in the run through? I heard you might, as one of the Kansas players.
Our run-throughs are never too full speed because I am out there, so you can imagine they're pretty, low key. But no, we didn't take as many walk-ons this year as we usually do. So our scout team is usually a couple coaches and a couple of the players, and we run through things, half speed, three-quarter speed. Where we don't get it full speed, but we've done that all year. We've done it in years past, so it doesn't change our approach much. Kansas, Bill's team, they're pretty basic in what they do. They've just got really good players, and they spread the floor, and they've got all those three-point shooters. There are not a lot of set plays they're running. They spread that floor, and they let Frank handle it and make plays. And if he's not handling it, Graham's handling it. They're setting a lot of single ball screens up top, and it's just very efficient. Their offense, I don't know where Ken Pullum's got them rated, but they're pretty efficient. And with all of them been able to pass it, it's one of the best passing teams we've faced in a long time. They pass and catch the ball really well, and when all of them can shoot it, they can spread the floor pretty good.
Can you tell us which KU player you'll be?
I'll be Frank. Oh yeah, I'm always the best player. So, but no, I'm always the point guard. So I just threw that in there. But I'm always usually the point guard because I've got a good feel for what they're going to do, and it cuts down the time. So.
Okay, other questions? Okay. We'll work the microphone back over to that side here on the left, on the inside aisle.
David Lawrence, Jayhawk IMG radio coach. On paper, these two teams kind of mirror each other in numbers. You both shoot well, rebound well. You have an advantage in blocks and whatnot. What does it come down to? Also, two teams with great athleticism. What does it come down to on who wins a game like this?
We lost our advantage with the blocks with Chris. We were averaging almost 7 blocks a game with him, and I think in the 4 games without him now, I think we've got 8 total. So Jordan's become a little less aggressive with his blocks, trying to stay out of foul trouble. He's done a great job picking up his rebounding in that. Chris was also our second leading rebounder, our third leading scorer, besides being the guy who blocked the most shots. So, we don't, defensively we've slipped. Our numbers in the last 4 games are not as good as they were, previous to him going down. And so we've tried to make up for that a little bit offensively, but we do play similar styles. Our points per game are about the same. They shoot the 3 a little better than we do. We both are undersized at some positions. Again, I think they have the advantage. I've been really impressed with the way they pass and catch. I don't know if we do that as well as they do. Defensively, our numbers were a little bit better, but they're not now. So, we're going to have to play really well, with the crowd and with where we're at with our ball club. We're going to have to play really good. And we anticipate that they're going to play really good because their previous 3 ball games since the conference tournament, they've played outstanding. So there's no reason to think that they're going to play any less than what they've done. And so we're going to have to play our tails off, and our guys know that. And hopefully, things will go our way, but we'll be ready, I think. I think guys are excited about playing, and that's a big part of it.
Okay, here in the middle. Janine?
Thank you. Coach, you had said last night after the game that you owe so much to this group of players for being in this position that you're in, and I know that these opportunities are fleeting to get to this level every year. I'm just curious on a personal level, what does this group mean to you, and is there anything special about them that has touched you?
Well, as a coach, I owe every player that's played for me, because I wouldn't be in this position if it weren't for all the former players who I was fortunate enough to coach. This group, special because, we've had injuries. Dylan Brooks didn't start the season. We had him on a minute restriction all the way through December. Dylan Enis was coming off a foot injury. Now with Chris injured, the team expectations were high, but we fought through injuries. We had a couple bad games along the road, that hurt, but they've always bounced back. So, they've been fun to work with. I've been fortunate enough to do this for a number of years, and I've been really fortunate to have players that it's enjoyable to go to work with. But this group, unselfish. I've asked each of them to give up something for the team. Everybody wants to shoot it every time they get it, and want it to be all about them. And for them to be unselfish, it's been an outstanding group in that regard. And the one thing I really like about them is they compete. We compete in practice. Every now and then, over the years, you had to really try to stoke the fire to get them to compete. This group, we've had to settle them down a few times, because they get after each other and pot starts to overboil a little bit. So, but I love their competitiveness.
Okay, we'll swing to Coach's extreme right.
Dana, growing up in this part of the country and having coached in the same conference, what did Kansas basketball represent to you? Was it kind of a gold standard of what every program wants to be?
Well, if you spend 7 years at K-State, you don't like the Jayhawks, all right? So, Chicken Hawks, whatever you want to call them, all right? So, that's just, you can't spend 7 years, 90 miles away. And, the one chance we had to go to the Final Four in '88, they beat us after we had beaten them in the conference tournament. And, we had beaten them 2 out of 3, and then we had to play a 4th game, and they beat us to go to the Final Four. So, it's great tradition. We're in the league now, and you got UCLA and Arizona with great tradition. Kansas State has great tradition, but Kansas obviously has done awfully well. This type of tradition we'd like to build at Oregon, and we've got a long ways to go to even be mentioned with those types of programs. But I think eventually someday, that our program can have that kind of stability and that kind of consistency that some of the traditional programs have, and KU definitely has that.
Any other questions for Coach Altman? Okay, here on the left, and the mics in the back will come up in just a second.
Coach Greg Mullen from ESPN. You and Coach Self go back a long ways. When you're playing a Bill Self team, what does that mean, a Bill Self team?
Well, they compete. They always have. Defensively, they're always going to be solid. This year's a little different because they're not quite as big. Traditionally, they've always run a high-low and really tried to jam that thing in. And they're a little bit more dependent on their three-point shooting this year offensively than what they have. But, Bill, has a way of getting the best out of each team. He's flexible enough that, if the personnel's a little different, he can change his style. And he has with this team. I mentioned not running as many sets and not looking high-low as much, and a lot more perimeter-oriented than some of his other ball clubs have been. But they're always going to be disciplined, well-schooled, and know what they want out of each defensive and offensive possession. And, win as many games, even when you're at, he's been a great program. Tulsa's always won. Illinois has always been pretty good. And Kansas, he's had pretty good jobs, but he's always made them a little bit better.
Other questions? Okay, right here, right there on the right.
CL Brown with ESPN.com, and I apologize if you've addressed this already, but I was wondering, Dylan Brooks talked about kind of controlling his emotions more this season. I was wondering what examples you had from some, maybe a situation where in the past you would have really had to rein him in, but he kind of controlled himself this year.
Well, he's only had one technical this year. That's the first sign. You don't want to take passion out of a player. But there's a fine line there when it affects his performance, when it affects your team. And so I'd much rather have a player that you're trying to just calm down a little bit rather than one that you're always begging to play hard. And I've never had to beg Dylan Brooks to practice hard or play hard. And so he's been really fun to work with. He has matured, but you would hope that out of any player that's been with you 3 years. His freshman year, he had some technicals, and he sat by me a lot, because of it. And but that was probably the best thing. He doesn't like to sit, so and he got his first technical in the tournament against Rhode Island, and he didn't like sitting for 6 or 7 minutes, and he saw how poorly it reflected on him and the team, and he's a smart guy. He's a smart guy. He doesn't want to hurt his team.
Any other questions for Coach?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Coach, for coming, and we will see you tomorrow. Good luck.